The Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely stole game number 4 of the NBA Finals. SGA has a legacy fourth quarter and a legacy game.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, member and beat writer for Thunder and SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into the Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely stealing game number 4 in Indiana to even up this series. SGA had a legacy-making fourth quarter. The Thunder performed in the clutch. OKC can play even better than this, but the unsung hero of this game was Alex Caruso. We'll talk about it all. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Every single morning, every single day, we're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Subscribe across all podcasting platforms. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Look, the biggest story from today is SGA. I mean, SGA outscored the Pacers in the clutch by himself, and the Thunder went into the fourth quarter down 7 points. SGA stays in the game for the entire fourth quarter and dominates. 15 points in that fourth quarter, a plus 16 in the frame, and it's really sparked by a personal 7-2 run where Shai hits a massive three and follows that up with a baseline midi that had no business going in, that he creates an ocean of separation between him and his defender, hits an off-balance baseline jumper, and the Thunder relied on him to close out this game. With their season on the line, they got down by as many as 10 points. There were different moments of this game where it felt like the Thunder were going to go down 3-1 and see the dream of capturing their first NBA championship fall through the cracks and riddling around the drain, and SGA did not let that happen. SGA came out here and did what all-time great players do. SGA came out here and did what number one options on championship caliber teams do. And in the fourth quarter, he absolutely came alive against an Indiana defense that still played great. Like, you look at what Shai did personally just down the stretch of that game. We mentioned the 7-2 run. He had a great defensive possession on Therese Halliburton where he closes out and Halliburton step back three. It ends up not mattering because Lou Dort fouls Nesmith on the long rebound, and it helps grow Indiana's lead at that point. But he has a massive rim finish to tie the game back up at the 4:30 mark. He jumps an entry pass to get a steal, and Chet Holmgren cleans up his miss, and OKC's now down 3 as Indiana needs a timeout, and that's kind of the first time that they put a ton of pressure on the Pacers. And then when the Thunder got up 107-103 with 40 seconds left, it was game over because of SGA. And he was nails at the free throw line. He was poised all throughout that fourth quarter. And this is what legacies are made of. This is what the perception of a player is made of. It's how you go through these challenges, because the Pacers have provided a challenge for, the entire game 3. And then for 3 quarters of game 4, it was a massive challenge in the sense of producing, because the Thunder saw the Pacers do everything possible to take Shai out of this game. They were denying him the chance to even bring the ball up the floor. They were hounding him off the ball and sending a quick double team once he got the catch. And it lended itself to some really, really, really bad Thunder offensive possessions in the half court. But Shai and the Thunder found ways to adjust, and Shai found ways to produce. And one of those ways was by allowing J-Dub to kind of initiate things in the half court, bringing Shai up to the ball as a screener, and that got the switch that you would prefer, which is Nesmith on Shai instead of Nembhard, and it allowed SGA to grow this thing out. But you just cannot undersell the 15 fourth quarter points to be a plus 16 in the fourth quarter with your season on the line. And Shai talked about it after the game, knowing what was at stake, knowing how this season looks if you're down 3-1 and you lose this game. And he wanted to give the best punch. He wanted to keep punching through the end of the game, and he did that. I mean, he had the best quarter of the series in the fourth quarter did SGA, and he ends up with 35 points, 3 rebounds. He has no assists, first time since the bubble that he hasn't had an assist. We'll talk about the passing and stuff for the Thunder later on, because the Thunder did outright steal this game. They really didn't have a ton of business winning it, but 3 steals, a block, 2 turnovers. He shot 50% from the floor, which if I told you at halftime he would shoot 50% from the floor for the game, you'd probably look at me like I had 3 heads. He went 10 for 10 at the free throw line as a guy who throughout the playoffs is prone to miss 1 or 2, a couple of them at the line these playoffs. He went 10 for 10 in the biggest moment on the biggest stage in 41 minutes. But the biggest thing that jumps out to me is that when you look at Shai and you look at how this game transpired, he was a minus 13. A minus 13 in this game. At various points, at various segments. And he ends up a 0 in the plus minus. He erased a minus 13 in the fourth quarter. That just shows you the level of impact on the plus minus, on the actual scoreboard, on the actual result that SGA had. To go from a minus 13 with the Thunder down 7 to a 0 in the plus minus category in the fourth quarter and get the Thunder a win, to now have a tie series. You have a tie series right now. It's best of 3, and you have home court advantage in a best of 3 scenario for your first NBA championship. And if the Thunder get over the hump and can do it, and if the Thunder stake their claim to this title, this game will be the one that you remember. This game will be the one that you point to for how they got it done. And this fourth quarter from SGA will be things that you look back on 50, 60 years from now and talk about. I mean, you look back on this fourth quarter from SGA for the rest of your life if the Thunder can pull this off and get over the hump. And he did everything right. The details of his fourth quarter were impeccable. We talked about the space he creates in the mid-range. Talked about him getting downhill to finish at the rim. The confidence to knock down that 3 whenever you're 0 for 3 to that point and now 1 for 4 from 3 in the game. Like that's stoic stuff. That is heroic stuff for SGA. And it just shows his level of calmness, his level of ability to not play to the box score, not play to the scoreboard, where no matter if he's having a great night individually or the team's having a great night, or it's the reverse and he's having a bad night, the team's having a bad night, no matter what, he plays the same way, he hunts the same shots, he tries for the same mismatches, and in the end, it breeds this consistency that Shai has become accustomed to, that we've become accustomed to watching from SGA, and Shai was just masterful in that fourth quarter, dictating how this game would go. I mean, you look at the free throws. He had 10 free throws. Obviously, there was some intentional fouling at the end. But in the fourth quarter, the second that Nesmith put his hand on SGA's shoulder, he just goes up for a shot, and it's automatically a foul. And he gets to the free throw line to get points with the clock stopped in a tight game, which is huge for any sort of comeback that you want to mount, especially down 7 in the fourth quarter of the NBA Finals. You look at the possession where it was really a botched possession. The Thunder really didn't have anything going for them. It was the Pacers that were blowing up screening actions and hurting the Thunder in the half court. And he gets the ball at the elbow, and he does his spinorama on his pivot foot, trying to find a crease, and that pivot that he made toward the inside shoulder to then get Nesmith a little bit behind the play, a little bit behind him, and then he goes up for the jumper and he gets hit on the arm, and he has a free throw now with what was it, 0.8 seconds on the shot clock. Like, that was a complete and total bailout of a possession by just being creative enough with your footwork to put the defense in a bad spot. And that's what Shai does to get the free throw line, is that he puts you in these impossible spots where you either have to foul him or just have to concede a great look to him. And he was able to capitalize on that tonight in the fourth quarter. And to have the gas at the end of this game, I thought Mark deserves some credit for how he handled the rotation, and the team deserves some credit for how they handled the storm, right? Because from the word go in this game, Mark was different. I mean, the starting lineups was different, but how he handled Shai's rotation was different. Shai did not play the entire first quarter, right? Shai only played a little bit in the first quarter, and then he could start the second quarter. And then they took him out, just for a touch in that fourth quarter to give him some more rest. We can close the game strong as a guy who had been running on fumes for the majority of the series, especially in game 3. So they changed his rotation, and he delivered in the fourth quarter. And this is legacy-making stuff for SGA, especially if the Thunder are able to pull out this NBA championship. But coming up, let's talk about the Thunder in the clutch, because this is a team that has not been tested in the clutch very often. And when they have, it hasn't gone great. And this time, it did. And we'll talk about why that was coming up. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at Olipop, go check out Olipop today, because Olipop is a new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but want something that supports their health with just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of probiotic fibers in every single can. Olipop is reimagining soda a way that's better for your gut. So make sure you go check it out today, because traditional sodas are loaded up with sugar, with 39 grams of sugar in a regular Coke and 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips the script with a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients like Ollie Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, baby, and there's nothing like the real thing except for Olipop, because it is the real thing, and making it healthier for you to have your soda cravings. It actually does something good for your body while giving you that same soda taste. And the flavors that you want to try in this Olipop lineup, we've gotten a lot of them from Olipop. We've been trying them left, right, and center. Tony East has let me have his stash of Olipop here in Indiana. I've got mine waiting back for me in OKC. They have the cherry cola, which is my personal favorite, but they also have cream soda. They also have a Dr. Godwin, which is their Dr. Pepper dupe, which if you know Rylan Stiles, you know that I love Dr. Pepper. And Dr. Godwin, he got his doctorate from a prestigious university, if you know what I mean. So shout out to Dr. Godwin, shout out to Olipop, and make sure you go check it out today with Ollie Smart. Get a free can at Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. Go there right now and head to Olipop. drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can. That's an ability to find it at Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. We're back talking Thunder stealing game number 4. The Thunder were in the clutch tonight, and this is a team that has not played a ton of clutch games. And in those clutch games, they've looked pretty shaky in those clutch games. They've lacked poise, they've lacked control, they've lacked offensive rhythm and flow, and you can even look back to game 3 and see some of those things rear its ugly head. And this is a Thunder team that a couple things have happened consistently this NBA Finals. They've lost the fourth quarter until tonight, and they've been bad down the stretch of close games like in game 1 and in game 3. They've also seen the Pacers respond to every single run that they try to go on in the majority of this series. And in the end, it was SGA who led the charge, and it was the Thunder who dominate this fourth quarter and who throw the last punch. OKC has not been punchless in this finals. They've been, as you know, battling the entire way. They were in command of game 1 and in the lead on the scoreboard in game 1 until 0.3 seconds on the clock. Right, they've led a large chunk of this series, but they have not been able to land that knockout blow. They have not been able to carry the fight for 48 minutes outside of game 2 and outside of clutch time tonight. And clutch time tonight, I thought, was a spot where this team continues to grow up. This team continues to learn the lessons. And what I mean by that is, the understanding of it's way better to win ugly than to lose pretty. And a lot went wrong tonight. And we're still going to talk about what went wrong tonight and how the Thunder need to be better. A lot went wrong tonight. There were a lot of different moments where the energy in the building was on fire, and it felt like the Pacers had won this game, and it felt like the season was over, down 3-1 for Oklahoma City. And to stay connective like that and to stay together in this closing time of this game was impressive. I think that Caruso made a great point post-game of, whenever they'd go to these timeouts, like to summarize what he was saying and paraphrase it, this building has a way of making you think that it's a 20-point lead when the lead's like 3 and when the lead's like 5. And so they go to these timeouts and then they look up and realize like it's a one-possession game. Like, everybody calm down. Like, it's a one-possession game, and kind of continuing to play, just playing through that adversity. The Thunder did a great job of that. And you saw that they won the fourth quarter 31-17. 31-17 after being down by 7 to start the fourth. And after being a team that, didn't close the fourth quarter well in game one, didn't close the fourth quarter well in game number 3, and didn't close the half of this game well. Like the end of that first half was not a good close for them. The end of the fourth quarter, not a great close for them. And they still were able to get the car back on the road, and they end up with 60 seconds left being up 2 after all of that. And then that's when the haywire started to ensue, right? And a lot of it, credit to Ben Mathurin. He blew those free throws down the stretch of this game. Credit to OKC, for putting pressure on Indiana's offense at times, which they would force a bad miss, but Indiana would do enough to hang around because of their ability to get second chance opportunities. But Indiana also blew those free throws. They gave away 2 of those away from the ball fouls that were so costly in this one. And the Thunder were clutch with their free throws, and that was a difference maker tonight. I thought that when you look at the execution down the stretch and the poise down the stretch, it all favored OKC, and that's not what we've been seeing for the majority of this season, even because this team has just not been tested a lot in the clutch. They've not had to play a lot in the clutch, and that was a big key that we've been talking about for the last 3 pods, is the lack of clutch experience and how it was biting them at the first 3 games of this series. And now you have gotten that clutch win, and you really turned with J-Dub. I thought that J-Dub's overall game was really good. I thought that his response, to having 4 total turnovers, but just 1 in the second half, was really good. I thought that the Thunder trusting him in the fourth quarter to be the initiator and let Shai come to the ball as a screener and punish Indiana for switching Nesmith on to him. That is only set up by an under control third-year player in the NBA Finals. And Caruso, again, give a great shout out to those 2 guys of J-Dub and Chet, to be third-year guys who are down 10 in the NBA Finals in their first NBA Finals on the road and staring 3-1 in the face as a deficit. And to respond the way that they did was huge, and to stay as connected to the game as they did was huge. But J-Dub in the fourth quarter, it was not just as simple as the Pacers just let Nesmith go and defend SGA. They wouldn't have been able to, they wouldn't have been forced to do that had throughout the entire game J-Dub not played as well as he did. J-Dub not played with such force and getting downhill and getting to the rim explosively in this game, which allowed him to get to the line 11 times. He got to the free throw line 11 times in this game, did Jalen Williams, to go 11 for 11 at the line. Another guy who had been missing free throws at times this playoffs and went perfect at the charity stripe this time. But that level of just pure determination downhill opens up what ends up winning you the game. Because if J-Dub had a lackluster performance tonight and a lackluster productive night, whenever the Thunder try to make that adjustment to have Shai come as a screener and force a switch, the Pacers just ignore J-Dub and say, well, we'll figure it out. We'll just fight over the screen and stick with Shai. And if it lets J-Dub have an angle as a driver, we'll rely on our help to disrupt him at the rim. They could not afford to do that. They had to give the switch because of how good that Jalen Williams was. And on top of that, Jalen Williams made the right reads every single time. He spotted the switch and he got the ball to Shai in an action position, right? The passes can't be errant. The passes can't lead Shai from in rhythm, getting the switch on Nesmith and turning the corner to, okay, now I got to fly all the way back out to the 3-point line, or got to fly all the way back to the timeline and then let Indiana scramble switch this and get their matchup back on him. It had to be great passes, and those passes that go a bit under the radar and don't exactly lead to assists, but they do lead to advantageous situations, in an isolation attempt with SGA. And how good J-Dub was that you can't really even afford to switch in the midst of a possession, because you'd have to leave J-Dub for some period of time, or play odds and evens if you're the defense. So Jalen Williams, I thought, had a really good game with 27 points, 3 assists, 7 rebounds, 44% from the floor, and it's been inconsistent. I'll be the first to tell you it's been inconsistent in terms of production, but the processing has been there. The mindset of what to do has been there. What's been inconsistent has been his ability to actually execute playing aggressively. His ability to actually execute playing as if he is this monstrous, table setting guard, because really offensively he plays as a guard. I know he defends fours and he plays the 4 on defense, but offensively he's a guard, and he is a monstrous guard in terms of his frame for that position. And he does not always understand how to utilize that consistently enough. But that's why he's still growing and he's still developing. And because you see tonight, when he does understand how to play that way, it leads to great things for Oklahoma City. And it led to them tonight. And I thought that J-Dub can fly a bit under the radar because of how great Shai was in the fourth quarter. And we led this show off. You know, Shai had the A block today. We led the show off with Shai for that very reason. But I really don't think that Shai can do what he did without J-Dub first doing what he did, not only to keep the Thunder hanging around, so they know not only keeping them within 10 points, but making himself an attention grabber for the defense opens up what Shai could do in that fourth quarter. So J-Dub I thought was really good tonight. And I thought that Chet Holmgren was gutsy. He just fought his guts out tonight and helped the Thunder get back in this series. Alex Caruso helped the Thunder win this game in a big way. The Thunder changed the starting lineup, and the Thunder have to and will be better than they were tonight, which is the interesting thing if you're Oklahoma City. All coming up on today's show. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today because right now the NBA playoffs are in full swing with the NBA Finals, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss performances, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action than right now. FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, and more ways than ever to bet smart and win big. Check it out today because you can even predict who's going to win the NBA Finals and who's going to win this very next game, this pivotal Game 5 that will swing the series. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's the perfect time to sign up because right now at FanDuel.com, you place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you can go check out the early lines for OKC on Monday, where the Thunder are 9.5-point favorites in that swing pivotal game number 5 of this series over Indiana. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Chet Holmgren was absolutely gutsy today. I mean, he rolls his ankle before everyone's seated in the building, and he continued to fight through it. And he fought through it not just by being on the court and being available to his team, but that physical finish over Miles Turner to tie the game in the third quarter was massive. Off the bounce, getting to the rim. He had multiple cleanup duty putbacks in the fourth quarter. Like, really, his offense tonight was that great finish over Turner off the bounce, and then being the janitor out there, just cleaning up every mess that the Thunder got themselves into. And when you look at how Chet competed tonight, the ankle was a big deal. He was clearly hobbled by it, but the defense was great from Chet Holmgren. Not only did he help them patrol the paint and allow OKC to dominate points in the paint, 50-36. They got back on track in the paint, did OKC, which they had to because they shot 18% from three, but he allowed that to happen. He also allowed OKC to be a plus 10 in the rebounding category because Chet Holmgren had 15 rebounds. It was the definition of Chet mixing it up on the glass. And then defensively, my goodness. I mean, he only has one block and a steal to show for his defensive effort tonight, but you can make a brilliant supercut of Chet Holmgren game-saving plays, specifically at the end when he switched on to an island against the Halliburton 3, and he stays down and then gets, and this is the exact play that we talked about with Game 3, where I do not mind the strategy, I minded the execution in Game 3. Same strategy where Chet is playing a bit off of Halliburton and kind of gearing up for the potential that Halliburton can get to the rim, and using his length to his advantage to close out onto Halliburton and force the miss. He did that beautifully on Halliburton's step back 3. He also had to defend Nembhard on an island in the mid-range where Nembhard had just hit a very tough mid-range bucket, and you know how dangerous that Nembhard can be. And Chet stood his ground and had a great contest on Nembhard to force the miss, and he just had a great opportunity in this game to have his fingerprints all over the defensive end. His fingerprints are still on the glass right now in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I can look at the backboard and see his paw on there right now because he had 15 boards, 14 points, and assist, a steal, a block, 0 for 2 from 3. You know, really the one area where you think that the Thunder can improve just as a simple math problem, and again, I'm no good at math, LPS didn't do me any favors. J-Dub and Chet have not shot the ball well from 3. And it's not been from a lack of quality looks. They've gotten their fair share of in rhythm, catch and shoot threes. They just haven't gone in. And you would imagine that would turn at some point. You would imagine that they're not going to play a 7-game series where they just cannot shoot the ball from those two guys and they can't find the bottom of the net. So when that game turns, it'll obviously be pivotal. If that turns, it'll be pivotal because it's now a race to 2 and it's a best of 3 series. Chet was a plus 14 in this game and you felt every bit of it in the box score plus minus. Alex Caruso, though, was the unsung hero. He just makes winning plays. I mean, he got to the free throw line. He disrupted Indiana's offense. He was a really good connective passer to, again, the Thunder didn't have a ton of assists. They actually had a brutal time trying to get actual assists. A large part of that, of the lowly 11 assists, comes from the 18% from 3. But he was able to spot the mismatches and get the ball where it needed to be to try to capitalize on those opportunities for OKC, even though it doesn't end up with a ton of assists. Although, of those assists that the Thunder did have, he was responsible for the Thunder being in an opportunity to get those assists. Now, when you look at him as a guy who is just steady for this team, I think that's where he had his biggest impact, which isn't quite tangible as getting to the line was, as that timely 3 he hit was. But we talked about what he said after the game, which I thought showed his leadership. But you saw it all night where every time out, he's over there talking to his teammates. Every single dead ball on the floor, he's kind of rallying the guys and keeping them present with the next possession. And I thought that the game, kind of opened up in the sense of physicality. Once Obi Toppin had that hard foul on him, gets the flagrant, a double T with him and Ihart because those two got chippy together. But 20 points off the bench. And now your 2 finals wins are covered in an 18-point game off the bench and a 20-point game off the bench for Alex Caruso. And especially tonight, where the Thunder were able to get this win, 111 to 104. Points were at a premium, and Caruso did that. He was a plus 14 as well. So just a great job from Caruso. You do not win this game without Alex Caruso. And now we can talk about, real quick, Kenrich Williams, who had 12 minutes and a plus 7 in this game, and he was always in the right spots defensively and putting bodies on guys and just keeping the scoreboard moving in the right direction. I thought that Lou Dort and Caruso both upped the defensive intensity of this team and allowed the Thunder to stack those stops in the fourth quarter, which got you such a lopsided fourth quarter win. But now we can talk about the Thunder starting double bigs and how they can get better. Look, I didn't love the idea to start double bigs in this series before the series started. I didn't love the idea to start them today. Like when the starting lineups came out, I thought that was a bad decision, and I still think it was a non-great decision from Mark, even though the Thunder won. Because to me, the starts that you got off to, even in Game 3, you got the 15-6 start. In Game 1, you ballooned a 15-point lead. Like the starts that you've gotten off to, even in your losses, have not been the problem. It's been what you've done after that. And for this team to have their season on the line and to have never once shown Indiana double big lineups to where you also don't have any data on what double big lineups look like against Indiana's actual roster because they've kept it exclusively to the Thomas Bryant minutes. Like that's not real. That's not real. All due respect to Thomas Bryant, that's not real as the Pacers fastball lineup was. And they got off to their worst start of the series with the double bigs in that starting 5. Now, they went back to the double bigs at the end, which I found very interesting, with about four minutes left in this game, and the Thunder were just fine in it. But they clearly had to work in how to defend with 2 bigs on the floor. And a one key adjustment was Ihart just selling out completely for the Cornette contest. Shout out to Locked On Celtics. I mean, who knows if it worked or not? Who knows how actual disruptive it was? But they were just trying to do something. It's just too hard to play double bigs against Indiana's best lineup because of how much they can space you out, because they were still wanting to cross-match in those double big minutes. When it's starters versus starters, and the starters in this case are double bigs, they still wanted to cross-match J-Dub onto Pascal Siakam. So then that leaves Chet and Ihart trying to find bodies, right? Because you can have Ihart on Turner. Now Chet's going to go find somebody. Who's going to go defend? And the Pacers did a good job of keeping that ball in rhythm and being able to find open opportunities. They start 3 for 3 from 3. They shot the ball well for the majority of this game from beyond the arc and end up shooting 30% when it's all said and done. But they really found their stride in the first couple of quarters from beyond the arc, and I thought that some of that was due to the double big stuff. However, OKC did a good job of adjusting and bringing in AC early in this game, first stoppage, and it led to a 9-0 run and a tie game for the Thunder. So they did pivot really quickly. I just thought it was a risky move to do this with your season on the line, and it was a risky move because it did put them behind the 8 ball instead of being with a great start that they had throughout the rest of this series. But iHeart overall was a good safety net for SGA in the fourth quarter. Like whenever the double bigs were playing with 6 minutes to go in a 4-point game, SGA had a dump off pass to him that he knocked through for his first 2 points of the game, and the only 2 points of the game for him. He had 3 assists, and his playmaking really cannot be replicated. And I think that's maybe why the Thunder went double bigs to start, is because of the fact that you're missing advantageous passers. Like you have a lot of guys who can make a swing pass. You don't have a lot of guys who can make a pass that puts you in a spot to score. And iHeart is one of those guys. I mean, he had 3 assists tonight, and the Thunder had 11 of them total. So, from the center position, and from a guy who only played, 20-something minutes, 20 minutes in this game. 22 minutes for iHeart. 6 rebounds, but I thought his screen setting was great, and his screen setting is something that has helped the Thunder whenever they get stuck, get back into a groove on the offensive end. So double big stuff, I don't know what they're going to do in Game 5. I have no clue. I'm done trying to predict how they're going to start Game 5. You can say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. To me, you tried it. It proved to be what we thought. Like we proved to be, the Bears are who we thought they were, type of deal. Like all week leading into Game 1, thought the double big stuff couldn't work against the Indiana starters. They go away from it in Game 1. People complain. This game, Game 4, they get off to their worst start starting double bigs because it's a very tough cover to have 2 bigs on the floor against Indiana's team. It just is. And now I'm not saying go away from them in the sense of playing them 0 minutes. I'm saying, play double bigs exclusively in the Thomas Bryant minutes, and then fill the rest of the game out with one of iHeart and Chet on the floor at all times, and you can have your best success that way. But OKC just absolutely stole this game. I mean, they had an awful stretch of turnovers with no SGA on the floor in the first quarter, that they were lucky and fortunate to be down just 1 after the first quarter, because there was no consistency with the defensive intensity of this game for OKC, and their offense labored. Really, the Thunder's offense laboring was their only version of consistency in this game. But the Thunder were lucky to only be down 1 after the first quarter. They had a brutal final minute and 20 seconds of this half with turnovers and bad offensive possessions, and it let Indiana gain that lead heading into intermission. That they just could not shoot the ball from 3, either at a high clip or at a high volume. They only had 17 3-point attempts. It's like when there's a stat out there, like if you combined the 3 threes that this Thunder team made with the 13 turnovers, and how porous that they were in those 2 categories, and the 12 assists, or the 11 assists. So if you combine 3 steals, 11 assists, and the 13 turnovers, teams are like 0-82 in that setting when they have those kind of porous numbers from those categories. And the Thunder found the way to win this game. And those are all things that have to change. I mean, the Thunder are capable of shooting the ball better. They've historically shot the ball better at home. So you head back to it for a pivotal Game 5 at home, and you hope that changes. We know that the Thunder have kept turnovers down all season long. These last 2 games have been bits of an outlier. Even though they still won the turnover battle, 15 to 13, you never really see the gap within just 2, that they have to cut that down even more. Indiana won the fast break points, but really there was no fast break points to be had. It was 9-8 in that category. The Thunder still lost bench points, and you would expect at home that that will swing back to OKC's direction. The Pacers had answered every single run, and the Thunder have to get better at punching out of timeouts even after they've gone on a run to go up. They have to be better at responding to those Rick Carlisle timeouts. But the biggest thing here is that the Thunder have to find a way to get back into their offense and get the ball moving better. Because one thing that Indiana has done throughout this finals that has hurt the Thunder in the sense of ball movement, because you can look at all 4 games now and talk about the lack of assists and even the lack of just passes from this Thunder offense. How the Thunder get to their assists and how the Thunder get into their passing offense has been through screens and DHOs. And with Indiana playing so high on these screens and truly just annihilating the screening action as soon as the screener gets set and tries to slip it and ghost it, that's taken away every sort of numerical advantage on the court that has limited OKC in getting assists. Because the Thunder, again, do not have a ton of passers who can just go create something or throw you open. They need the number advantage. They need the downhill advantage. They need the bending and slanting of the defense advantage. Where Isaiah Hartenstein has a screen, wipe away screen on a DHO pitch out to SGA, who loops around that screen and gets downhill. And now your low man is committing to SGA, and SGA tosses it behind him for a cutter for an easy dunk. Like, that's the ways that the Thunder are able to rack up assists. You can't do that if the initial screening action is blown up. You just can't. Because now nobody has to slant toward the ball handler, and the ball handler has a bad catch point. You went back and look off of these DHOs how often the catch point is back at the hash or even closer to the timeline. Like that's something that has not happened to the Thunder consistently, and you would imagine that they're going to find a way to try to change that and try to be crisper with their screens. I thought that one way to do it would be to stop always go screening. At some point, just set a screen and actually get set and run your defender into the screen. But some of that is also, of course, on guard play, letting the screen develop. And some of that is also on the screener being more disciplined and forceful with their screen. So the Thunder have ways to clean this stuff up. And then now you have a series. Now you have a series where it's 2-2, and you have a pivotal Game 5 in OKC on Monday night. We'll have a practice on Sunday to talk with Chet about his ankle and how that's recovering, and also we'll have more fallout from that. We'll have another crossover with Tony East. We'll have Derek Parker back on the show because, it's 2-2, and it got the Thunder a win. So let's see if it can happen again. Anyway, until tomorrow, we have another podcast coming out because it's Locked On Thunder, your team every single day. Be good and be good to one another.